Travis Wayne Goodsell. I'm cold, I'm tired, I want to go back to bed. But I might as well make the video for today that I've been promising. Day 5, Betrayal Day. It's day 5 for both Passover and for Easter, Passion Week. This is a rare occasion when both are joined together as one. And it just happens to be 3,333 years from the Jewish date of their claimed Exodus. And the 33rd year of the Christian understanding of when this occurred. 33 AD even. So there's some curious differences with the Passover of the Jews with Moses and the Exodus and the Christian Gospel Passion Week. There are some similarities and there's some blatant differences. They both originate from Egyptian, and if you do not understand, I'm Mormon, born and raised, I'm an elder, it is my duty to preach Mormonism to you. From the Book of Mormon and from Joseph Smith. No one else is authorized. Section 43 of the Doctrine and Covenants. When Joseph Smith was assassinated, nobody was properly succeeding Joseph Smith because they didn't follow Section 107, verse 22. So thus there is no one for us to follow. The church died. It's over. It's gone. It needs to be restored. If you're a Mormon and you're hearing this and you don't like what you hear or you disagree with me, maybe you should reconsider whether you're Mormon. And you might claim, well, Jesus is mad that you say Mormon. Is he? Is he? As Nelson denies the ascension of Christ? Who was denied ascension? In Mormon theology. So again, I think you need to reconsider your position in life. So, first, I've got some breaking news because nobody knows this stuff. It's kind of disappointing that I'm the one that had to find out all this stuff. We have to go back to the Passover version of betrayal. It's what led to the Exodus, rather than the day 5 event. And so, for what we learn is that Jacob and Esau were born as twins. Esau was first. Therefore, he had the birthright and the blessing. His name means hairy. Hairy as in hairy. And Jacob, because he was holding on to his brother's ankle, was therefore called Jacob, usurper. And as the story goes, yeah, that's exactly what he does to his brother. Because his mother, Rebecca, Rachel and Leah became his wives through Laban. Rebecca instructed Jacob to sell Esau's birthright for a mess of pottage. The Egyptian story is not pottage. It's a salad with special sauce that Esau therefore would have given birth to the branch. But you don't know the Egyptian version. And thus why Ezekiel refers to him as twig, and Jeremiah and Isaiah referred to him as the branch. It's the cedar of Lebanon from the Egyptian story. And so then Rebecca has Jacob put on an animal skin coat to pretend to be hairy and go in to Isaac, who's blind. And yes, blindness is a common theme and goes back to the Egyptians again. Samson, for example, he tells us in story form the dates for the 3 days of darkness of the latter days. I did the video. And yes, he too is blind as he destroys the temple of the great and abominable church in the latter days with his death sign. And so, Isaac hands over the blessing of Esau to Jacob. And so Esau finds out, he's pissed. You tricked me into selling my birthright, and then you take my blessing? You have been rightly named. And so then the Lord comes to Jacob and says, okay, yeah, you usurped the birthright and the blessing. I guess the Messiah, the last days Messiah, will come through you, through David, through to the last days Messiah. And so you will no longer be called Jacob. You now have the new name of Israel. I can't believe Nelson couldn't or wouldn't give you the correct translation. It's right there in the text, as well as in the story form, because that's the whole point. You know, the last days Messiah. That's why Balaam, I think it is, Balaam, is the one who prophesies. He's supposed to curse Israel, but instead blesses them, and then says, Star of Jacob. Let me find that real quick for you, I think. Because it's only occurring once. In Numbers chapter 24, verse 17. Let's see. Yeah, Balaam the son of Beor hath said, the man whose eyes are open hath said, he keeps saying he has said, which heard the words of God, and he knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. See that? Star out of Jacob uses the original name. Scepter shall rise out of Israel. Even Numbers understood what was being talked about in Genesis by Esau, by the Lord, when he got the new name. And shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Seth, the Egyptian god who murdered Osiris, of which we now have the prophecy of Horus, of where we get our sacrament of the broken body of bread from the bread star of Bethlehem, house of bread. It's in the Virgin constellation. Woman shall give birth in Bethlehem. Bethlehem is at the womb area where Jupiter spends 9 months in the womb and then exits on a certain day in the future that John in Revelation chapter 12 gives us the precise date, which is the first sign. See, I need to go back to bed. Which is the first day of darkness as given to us as the date in the story of Samson. You know, the lion that he murders? Guess which constellation the 21st of August 2017 sign was? Yeah, exactly. And so Esau then goes on and marries Judith. See, here we go. Here we have a pattern repeating itself. What did Jacob name one of his sons from Leah, the undesirable wife? The one he was forced to marry. I don't want her. I love Rachel. Now, Judah, the male version of Judith, the female version. But remember, Jacob usurped the birthright and the blessing to give birth to the last days Messiah, as I just went over for you from Numbers. And so then we have Rachel finally being allowed to marry Jacob, and they have a child. They name him Joseph, and they spoil him rotten because he's the beloved birthright blessing son, not that Reuben guy. Reuben, by the way, in Paleo-Hebrew is son of Seir. Ra is Seir, and Ben is son. And so it is interesting that there is a connection with Peter and Judas in the Gospels version when I get to it. That's the information you have not heard. You have heard the story, but you did not make the connection. Both Reuben and Judas betrayed Joseph, selling him. It was Judas who was the initiator, but Reuben went along with it. And so that's information new to you as well. And I'm sure you're already going, oh yeah, that cock that crowed 3 times. Is that what you're going to refer to? Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to refer to. That's the prophecy for the latter days. This is day 5. This is betrayal day. Every Mormon's a betrayer. Step right up. And so Joseph, he's the Messiah figure, just as Samson is the Messiah figure, and just as Esau was supposed to be the Messiah figure, but got usurped by Jacob. And so Joseph gets thrown into prison. So does that Jesus guy too, doesn't he? And then there's something about dreams, future famine, and bishop storehouses get brought up with Pharaoh to release Joseph. But then Joseph becomes the second of all Egypt as the primary vizier over the chariots and other such. And if you don't know Egyptian, which I'm sure you don't, that means that his children are therefore eligible, if called upon, if there are no brother and sister of the birthright blessing Pharaoh, to be married in to give birth to children who might one day cause a conflict over whether they are legitimate heirs to the throne, such as Moses with the Passover. And so Joseph then dies, and it then goes into the next book of the Exodus and the birth of Moses, and talking about the similar thing with the wanting to murder babies to prevent the Messiah from coming. Because of the Christian interpretation of John chapter 19, Christians believe that the coming of the Messiah will be on a white horse. And they skip the word sign that's directly in the text. And so they are clueless that he gives the exact date. It's the third day of darkness, 8 April 2024. But Rapture-Palooza is then created to show how ridiculous Christians are as they murder. Well, it was an accident. He didn't know it was Jesus. Anna Kendrick tried to get him to stop. But the Antichrist weapon that was purposely designed for that moment was then used by Anna Kendrick's boyfriend to assassinate Jesus. And so, yes, that's why Trump did his Space Force. Yeah, why do we need a Space Force? Why do we need weapons in space? Yeah, Trump is the chosen one. He doesn't want some Jesus coming down and spoiling his fun. So, yes, Trump knows he's the Antichrist, the beast. So, yeah, that's the Passover version of day 5. Though the plagues were such that it was 10 plagues, and so 10 days rather than 8 days, I think. But list of Exodus plagues. Did the 10 plagues of Egypt really happen? Are you not going to list them for me? Oh, God. No, not... Don't speculate. If you don't know that it was indicating the inundation of the Nile, not red algae, the red soil of southern Egypt. Alright. It's kind of hard because it's 10, not 5 days. See, tomorrow is Death Day, so that's number 10. 3 days of darkness are spread out in an 8-year period of time from 2017 to 2024. And so the fire from heaven, just like Sodom. And if you want to do your own research on the latter days, what you should have been doing is taking all the stories and making events listings for each one, and then comparing and contrasting with all of the different ones to see what people were talking about for the prophecies of the latter days. And so it's interesting. Sodom, its death day was the fire from heaven, but the death day for Egypt is the coronavirus. We've had stars fall from heaven. Vermont the other week had a big old boom. But the actual destruction from meteor showers has not yet occurred, if there is to be one. I know the United States is now building a robo-killer for outer space to shoot down all the asteroids. Literally. I guess they got it from the original arcade game Asteroids, and they think that they're going to shoot it down. I guess they've never watched the movie Armageddon with Bruce Willis in the White Horse. No, White House. Okay, so worst case scenario. That's all you had to say. Worst case scenario. Worst case imaginable. I still miss you, babe, and I don't want to miss a thing. I still have a hard time watching that. When the one guy is divorced, doesn't really get to see his kid doesn't even know he's the father, and then I'm already breaking down here. All right, New Testament. New Testament. Yes, we all know about Judas, the 30 pieces of silver instead of the 20 pieces of silver that Joseph was sold for. But Judas was in that Last Supper thing. As today is Last Supper day, isn't it? The Betrayal day? Isn't that the way it is? Passover week events. Oh man. Should not have gone to Armageddon. Which, again, I've done the video. King David was the one involved with Armageddon anciently, as he battled the Hittites and then decided to take a little rest and recreation during the battle to go up on the hillside of Jerusalem and check out the women bathing on the top of their roofs, and found a little cutie honey. No, this is the Passover. Guys, are you kidding me? Google, you suck. Passion Week events. Alright. Okay. Alright. Holy Week Wikipedia. Alright, so Maundy Thursday. Maundy. Worked with a Maundy. She thought sex was a 4-letter word. But the way she talked about what she wanted to do with her husband made me want to marry her. Maundy Thursday, that's today. Commemorates the Last Supper. Yeah. So yes, Joseph Smith likewise talked about this in 19 July 1840. You're going, oh, which section of the Doctrine and Covenants is that? Oh, well, a certain person who was called Judas decided he didn't want to put that in the Doctrine and Covenants when Joseph Smith died. So we don't have it in our Doctrine and Covenants. You can find it on the Joseph Smith Papers site if you can't afford the publications of all the books. I scrounged up enough just to get the one on translation, which was well worth it because I now figured out what he was doing, as everybody else is still wondering. Why are you guys still wondering? It's easy. I understand it. Maybe it's because I deciphered Paleo, Hebrew, and Egyptian petroglyphs, found out the Egyptian petroglyphs come from the stories translated in the Bible, which, like stars, latter days, etc. So, it's easy once you've learned the truth. And so, Judas betrays Jesus in the Last Supper. And the Last Supper was a commemoration of who he was supposed to be, even though he is assassinated. Unlike Moses, who wins and gets to have the northern kingdom of Egypt, which we now call Israel. And Judas is the one who secretly conspires to get the Roman guards to arrest him, and the kiss of betrayal. So when Mormons say, "Oh, we love you," yeah, no, you're lying. You're liars and deceivers and betrayers. And so Judas, therefore, represents the betrayer. And so rightfully people recognize Joseph being betrayed by his brothers, though they all wonder, I don't know, it's Judah, not Judas, and it was 20 pieces of silver, not 30. I don't know. Seriously, guys, come on. But Peter, after he's arrested, Peter denies him thrice. Thrice a Roni, the San Francisco treat. Yeah, Peter, the seer. And I tried to have it put in the footnotes. They refused. In Egyptian, the word for seer is PTR. So to put in vowels, Peter. Joseph Smith translation confirms that this is the case. Remember, Joseph Smith is a translator, despite what the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints tells you. And we're getting to their betrayal, along with Mormons. And so the cock crows, and because of this story, someone somewhere originated the sexual innuendos for both Peter and Cock. I don't know why, but such is now the case. And we all know it. But who started it, I have no idea. I don't know if it was the Dark Ages that started it, or the Middle Ages, or the Enlightenment period. Oh, Peter, Cock, I see now. But, yeah. And so, yes, both Judas and Peter, the seer, Reuben, Judah, betrayers. See how they're the same story? It's just different people telling the story in their own special way. As you go through the Gospels, you'll notice they're all different. They all talk about a different Jesus. John, for example, is the only one that says, "Woman, don't touch me," when he's resurrected, because he has not ascended yet. The others don't mention that part. They say he's ascended because he's eating and letting them touch the wounds in his hands and such. That means he's ascended. Not just resurrected, ascended. So why is Nelson not saying this? Yeah, well, this is the denial of the Messiah of President Russell M. Nelson of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He has now denied the true Messiah of Mormonism through Joseph Smith thrice. The cock is crowing, and tomorrow is Death Day. And we'll get to explanation on Deuteronomy on that one. So the first denial was when he created the new logo for the church. Again, the resurrected Christ, built upon the church. Not the cornerstone, of which the church then becomes the other founding stones. Nope. He built them on top. That's the logo. That was the first denial. The second denial was the Christmas devotional, where he referred to Revelation about the morning star, except everybody misinterprets that passage. They all think it's Venus. Nope, different star than what Isaiah is talking about when he says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" If he had known that, he would have clarified. Instead, he let people believe whatever they wanted to believe, denying the ascended Christ. And then the Palm Sunday video he just did Sunday, where he comes right out multiple times: resurrected Christ, resurrected Christ, resurrected Christ, resurrected Christ. This Easter, we celebrate the resurrected Christ. No, his resurrection was followed by the ascension. Why aren't you talking about the ascension? Moses ascended. It's put at the end of Deuteronomy. Nobody knows where he was buried. And the Mormon tradition says, oh yeah, he ascended, transformed. And so then he appears at the Mount of Transfiguration with Jesus. Yeah, where Elijah and Moses give him the keys to restore the kingdom for the millennium, and he's assassinated. And so Joseph, what? Joseph? Yeah, latter days, Moses and Elijah come to him. Ah, but he's assassinated. Oh, crap! We have another Judas. Yes. The whole quorum of Judases the second time around. First time he called him Judas was for getting rid of Thomas B. Marsh, a good man, as he called him. Yeah. So, I understand Nelson has betrayed the Messiah, of whom he claims to be the leader of, who he claims and lets Mormons believe that he's receiving the direct word of. No, not the Christian Christ. Oops, we're supposed to be the learning of the Jews. Thus, all the scriptures are prophecies. So in Deuteronomy 19, 16 to 19, I probably should have brought it up before I started speaking. We can do 20 and go back. So starting in verse 16 of Deuteronomy 19. If a false witness, denying the Christ, rise up against any man to testify against him that which is wrong, even Pharaoh? Nope, you're not him. I know you were able to demonstrate that the flooding of the Nile is a symbol of your coming. I know that your serpent staff is a symbol of your authority. I know that I think that was it. The red Nile, the serpent, snake, staff. The others were prophecies for the latter day. Then both the men, between whom the controversy is, shall stand before the Lord. And if not the Lord, before the priests and the judges, which shall be in those days. And the judges shall make diligent inquisition. And behold, if the witness be a false witness. Boy, how I long for these days of judgment against false witnesses who sue people and then back off, and hath testified falsely against his brother. Then shall ye do unto him as he had thought to have done unto his brother. This is how you stop people from making false accusations. Democrats haven't learned this lesson, and it's going to cost America its life. Nelson has made false accusations, false witness against the true Mormon and Messiah. Denied him thrice. And referring to him instead as the one who has not ascended. There's also the book of Esther. I did this for Purim this year and previous years. But in the book of Esther, it goes over this false witness example. And she finds out that this vizier of the Persian king is going to murder everybody. Well, that sucks. So she goes before the king and says, hey, I'm going to be murdered. I'm the one you chose after you lost your first wife, because she didn't want to dance before you naked. So he then turned on the vizier and had him murdered on the same weapon that he had built to murder the Jews. So the same punishment for being a false witness is to be used. Now in section 103, verse 16, here we know that it's a Mormon who's supposed to be this Messiah for Mormons. Therefore I will raise up a mortal man unto my people, amen, Mormons, who shall lead them, the Mormons, like as Moses led the children of Israel. Brigham Young was not the Mormon Moses. He did not lead them out of Egypt. He fled the country. After murdering a certain key founder and then raising up a temple with the inverted pentagram on it of he who had not ascended. And so here again, verily, verily, I say unto you that my servant Joseph Smith Jr. is the man. That's why Joseph Smith is Elijah. As I did that video, I hope. I hope I did that video. Excuse me. I meant to do that video, if I didn't do it. But yeah, Joseph Smith is Elijah, preparing the way for the Messiah, the forerunner. And that was his whole purpose and intent, was to get the ball rolling, and gave the order in that 19 July 1840 talk, saying we need to have the mountain cities of Zion and New Jerusalem, thus the fulfillment of Isaiah, not here in Utah, before the coming of the Christ, whom Joseph Smith says is Mormon, a Mormon mortal. And he will then protect the government with the Mormons, protect the Constitution that will be in jeopardy by 2017 with the installment of a president of the United States who will be a puppet king to a foreign enemy. Anybody have a guess as to who that enemy is? Russia? I'd rather be Russian than vote Democrat. Why don't you just go lock yourselves up? Because you don't care about freedom. So, yeah. So in the Book of Mormon, likewise, there's another example of this. Laban, you are a thief, and I will slay you. bingo, he is a false witness. The punishment he thought to instill on those who he falsely accused was murder. So Laban then is required to be the one to die for being a false witness. And I don't know why they don't mention it in the Book of Mormon, but that's what's going on. So, yes. Nelson also is falsely accusing Mormons of being wicked and is having the weak among you assassinated with coronavirus. He helped to spread and escalate it. He was slow to shut down the church and then was quick to open it back up again, causing a spread and escalation of the virus, resulting in unnecessary death. All because he's a false witness. So that also is against Nelson's favor. And then Bednar and others also joined with Nelson in that. Nobody liked that video of mine, that Bednar ordered Mormon's assassination, execution, or whatever I put in the word title. And so this is the betrayal day. And likewise, Mormons demonstrate their betrayal of the Messiah. They refuse to accept that they are, after the learning of the Jews, that they are supposed to look for a mortal Mormon among them, because even the president of the church, even though he's supposed to be in the office of Moses, he's not doing a very good job. He didn't have us stay home and stay safe while the virus, the creeping death of Metallica, passes over us and slaughtered everybody. But again, here we have in section 85 of the Doctrine and Covenants, and it shall come to pass that I, the Lord, will send one mighty and strong, Samson, the Sun King, whose name shall be Sun God. From Isaiah, holding the scepter of power in his hand, clothed with light for a covering, whose mouth shall utter words, eternal words, while his bowels shall be a fountain of truth, to set in order. I thought Joseph did that. The house of God. What's the house of God? The temple. Why does it need to be set in order in the future? Because Joseph Smith knows his organization has been infiltrated and will be taken over by the great abominable church. Still not convinced? Now we can go to section 1, verse 16. In 14 and 15, he's talking about the Mormons who are wicked. Because who are the people who are not giving heed to the prophets and apostles prior to Joseph Smith? Who are the ones who can stray from ordinances, who can break everlasting covenants? Only those who are sealed in the everlasting covenant. Only Mormons can do that. He's talking to Mormons. And then he says Mormons are going to believe in a spiritual witness and creating an idol god as a result of it. Walketh in his own way. What do you think spiritual witness is? I can't get your spiritual witness. It's your own. You're walking in your own way with a spiritual witness. Now, if you produce the fruit and you tell me how I can likewise replicate that, then I'll listen to you. Until then, shut the bleep up. I'm the one telling you the true doctrine of Mormonism. And so, it's going to perish. In Babylon, all right, the Doctrine and Covenants was encoded. And in 1981, the church service missionaries decoded a few of the words, names and such, but they missed a lot. Here's one example. They missed this. And so if the Doctrine and Covenants was coded, which means the Smiths knew how to code, I wonder if there are any other publications with names that aren't really the names. You know, such as a book claiming to be history but is not, and therefore would be encoded. Can you say Book of Mormon? And so again, wherefore I, the Lord, knowing the calamity Why am I doing these videos? I am being obedient, which should come upon the inhabitants of the world, called upon my servant Joseph Smith Jr. As an elder of the true church, we are required to warn our neighbor from the Book of Mormon code and from Joseph Smith. Nobody else is authorized. Section 43, for example, which also Joseph Smith also uses a parable to say that the church will fall into apostasy and destruction will occur. Section 101, starting in verse 43, is the parable that he gives. But we are going to, I forgot now, because I got distracted with 101. Crapolios. Can't remember. Bummer. Alright. Not coming to me at the moment. I lost the train of thought by throwing that in there at the last minute because I didn't have it written down. So, yeah, Joseph knew the church would fall into apostasy. He warned Mormons. The Book of Mormon constantly repeats the warning, entire destruction of the people. The Book of Mormon warns of a Jacob who will be made king to replace the constitution of the law of Mosiah. And so, yes, Judah, from Judah, Utah. And wouldn't you know it, I did the video about how his mother's name is supposed to be Judith. There's also Judy as a variation. But, my God, Mormons, what does it take? I mean, you have shown by your hatred that you betrayed Joseph Smith. You've betrayed the Book of Mormon. You have fulfilled the prophecies. And today is that day of betrayal. It's Judgment Day, Mormons. You have betrayed your Messiah. We can take you to this one. Because the book Doctrine and Covenants is coded, and the church service missionaries missed it, where are the 3 days of darkness? Oh, over America. Not Jerusalem? Yeah. So in Section 45 of the Doctrine and Covenants, it's not the Jews in Jerusalem in the latter days. So yes, this is Mormons in Utah. And so as I read over this, replace or liken the scriptures unto Mormons in Utah. Then shall the Lord set his foot upon this mount, and it shall cleave in twain, and the earth shall tremble and reel to and fro, and the heavens shall also shake. And the Lord shall utter his voice, and all the ends of the earth shall hear it, and the nations of the earth shall mourn, and they that have laughed shall see their folly, and calamity shall cover the mocker, and the scorner shall be consumed, and they that have watched for iniquity shall be hewn down and cast into the fire. And then shall the Jews look upon me and say, remember, Joseph Smith said he's a Mormon, a mortal. What are these wounds in thine hands and in thy feet? And then shall they know that I am the Lord. For I will say unto them, these wounds are the wounds with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. I am he who was lifted up. I am Jesus that was crucified. I am the Son of God. And then shall they weep because of their iniquities. Then shall they lament because they persecuted their king. And then shall the heathen nations be redeemed. And Satan shall be bound. And 10 virgins, the parable, not section 132 that was added by Brigham Young blaming Joseph. But again, spiritual witness with the 10 virgins. The oil represents what you get from fruit, not from a spiritual witness. The seed. The foolish virgins lived by spiritual witness. And you can't be given knowledge at the last minute. You have to get it for yourself by following the iron rod. Those foolish virgins didn't do it. And when they tried to do it and come back in the nick of time, oops, too late, so sad. Doors are shut. The bridegroom wedding thing at Temple Square, room number 13, with the wedding feast at the Lion House, with the beehive house in the carcass of the Lion House, has already commenced. And Delilah has cut his hair and betrayed him. Throwing in some Samson for you, the one mighty and strong. So, there you have it. Betrayal Day. As no one else will ever tell you, because they don't know. You got exclusive material from me. And it took an hour when I could have been sleeping.